Hey guys, welcome back to the Noob Nerd YouTube channel, following me, Sid, as I go through each and every episode of The Flash, Season 6. Of course, I started Episode 4 last episode. I'll try to make this review slash discussion, a bit more concise. Definitely not going to be a half an hour episode, but of course, last episode review and discussion, it had to be longer for me to get introduced to how I do things, and of course what my previous thoughts on previous episodes. But from now on, each episode its own review and discussion, standalone thing. Obviously it's going to connect. It's a TV show. The Flash, Crisis on Infinite Earths, the TV event is imminent, so I really appreciate if you like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully you're there when I witness it and you witness it, and it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. Of course, I'm not just doing these reviews because I'm looking forward to the Crisis event. I love The Flash. I've been watching this show for ages. It's back to its best for its first 4 episodes. And let's see if this episode 5 holds up. And this time in this review discussion, I'm actually going to have pictures to show you for reference for what I'm actually talking about in the show. You know what I mean? I'm evolving. But of course, leave your own thoughts on how I should do these videos. Do you want me to do complete voiceover? I don't mind doing it. But for now, it's going to be me. For this episode, me talking to you and the pictures for reference. So yeah, let's get on with the reaction. Could do reactions to episodes, but no, I like just gathering my thoughts. It's only been 10 minutes or so since I actually watched the episode. Let's start with the main premise. I think many people thought this was going to be a black and white episode, which would have been interesting, but nah. It's just a weird thing they put on like the trailer promos to make it sound interesting. And just CW trailers, they're just trying to entice people in. I think that was just a stylistic choice, and it was just a stylistic choice for the trailer. Not a black and white episode, but it didn't need to be. I think the episode gets introduced into the premise that it's going to be a Cisco-centric episode. And I think I knew this from the trailer, and I was excited. I was excited to get some more into Cisco Ramon's character, especially after last week's episode on him trying to gather his thoughts on Barry's death and the fact that he's going to be leading the team. And this is something that they continue on very heavily, because of course Barry is now actually leaving. Barry and Iris have decided to go on holiday for this episode, and of course with this show's use of powers, excuse my nose, just itchy, Barry and Iris have decided to go on holiday for this episode, and it makes sense with this show's use of powers all of a sudden that Barry's speed doesn't actually cause any fire to his clothes. That's been a long fault. That's been a thing in the back of my head all the time, because I remember the first episode was him gathering his powers and just like learning to use them, because his clothes were getting fiery. Like, because obviously if you run fast, theoretically your clothes should burn up if you're not wearing the Flash suit, but I guess they just couldn't be asked to do that. Well, it's fine. I'd just say the excuse was when he's learning to use his powers, he can't control it, so or something like that. I don't know. Nevertheless, it's a perfect excuse. Him and Iris gonna go on holiday, and they just zip past to whatever beach they went to. I think that they tell us what happened after. Excuse itchy nose. So yeah, Barry leaves Cisco as leader of the team. Obviously, temporary, of course, but it's a perfect chance to show Barry that he's got what it takes. And Cisco's very just jokingly about it. He's like, oh, I've got this. And Ralph is just like, okay, sure, mate. But before Barry goes, Barry realizes that Cisco has actually made an artificial Siri type interface that stands for BART. Oh, not Bart. Not Bart Allen. Barry. So he's made an artificial intelligence. Not intelligent. I keep on thinking it's artificial intelligence. I thought it was going to be like Gideon or something. But no, it's actually like a Siri type interface that is called Barry, and it's based on Barry's based on his personality apparently, and what decisions he would make as leader. And yeah, Barry's like makes a cool joke, or not a cool joke, just funny humor about, oh, I like Empire Strikes Back, and no, it's actually Jurassic Park that is his favorite film or something. They always reference Empire Strikes Back as film references. Like, they did that in Marvel, and they do that in DC TV as well. Interesting. If you get it, you get it. But yeah, just I thought it was just going to be used as I think in previous seasons they would use that as a funny, just side thing. But they actually integrated it into the story well. And I was thinking, oh, that's interesting. Cisco's using Barry to make decisions for him, and they actually follow that up in the next couple of scenes, as they develop through the episode. So that was an interesting premise. Breacher arrives while Cisco and Camilla are in bed. Of course, they struggle to get bed. They struggle to get to sleep anyway, so might as well have Breacher show up. Yeah, so Cisco was sleepwalking essentially, and Camilla reveals that to him. But of course, it's more than sleepwalking. He's getting these vibe-like visions, even though he's lost his powers. So what's going on here then? He nearly cuts his own hair off. Cisco's hair's beautiful. You can't be cutting that off. So yeah, but before they can fully explain what's going on, before Cisco can really... Camilla just thinks he was sleepwalking, but Cisco of course knows more than that. And obviously it's going to be a main through line through the episode. Breacher comes. Of course he's the girlfriend's husband. Husband? What? Bloody hell, I'm getting all the family relations wrong. Ex-wife's, ex-girlfriend Cynthia's dad. Sorry about that. It's just weird because it's like you never usually see the ex's dad show up. But of course I think the reason for this was because Cynthia, the actress who plays Cisco's ex-girlfriend, couldn't actually show up for this episode. You could tell as the episode shows you. But it was cool to see Danny Trejo back. Really funny actor from the previous seasons, brought some welcome comic relief, but also has a cool little serious moments here and then. And I like his relationship with Cisco. I think it's very sweet and not loving, of course. Trejo is the opposite of loving. He's very intense, but it's a welcome addition, and it's good to see him back here. And of course, we see already a sad moment. He reveals that Cynthia has died. Of course, they couldn't get the actress back, so they just reveal, let's just kill her off. But again, they use these story points not for just the sake of it. They're using it for actual character development, and you love to see it. And so, of course, Cisco goes to the crime scene, and we see the crime scene. We see that Cynthia got involved in this. Well, Cynthia was working for the, what's this? I think it's like a breacher squad, like almost like CCPD, but more advanced on another Earth. Or I think they went to this Earth. So basically, Cynthia versed this hacker in a hoodie called Echo, and somehow the Echo was revealed to have killed Cynthia with a gun, as they fought through a breach, as they went into Earth 1. And of course, Cisco finds the vaporized body of her, and she, of course, he's very heart-struck by it. Of course, he's shocked. He's putting his hand around his mouth. Makes sense. Of course, his ex-girlfriend, but it doesn't mean he still cared for her. And of course, Danny Trejo's character has come here to try and get revenge and try and solve the murderer. So yeah, before that storyline can develop, of course, it's a very interesting premise. I've kind of forgotten by this point that Barry's even in the episode. He's the Flash. He's the character I'm most interested in. I think all of you are interested in. But I didn't notice him gone. I was invested in the mystery, in the hook of the storyline. But I was concerned a bit that it was going to be a bit of a filler, just an excuse for a filler episode. Especially with the Joe West following Nash Wells into the tunnel. I thought it was just going to be like an excuse for Joe and Nash to bond together and get to know more about Nash. Of course, he's in the tunnel. Joe follows him into the tunnel. I was like, oh, cool. You're actually giving Joe something to do. It makes sense. If Nash is going under the tunnels and multiple Harrison Wells have been suspect throughout the whole show, it makes sense that he would go under there and check up what's going on. But of course, one thing leads to another, and them two get stuck underground. And I've seen this plenty of times before in other TV shows where two characters get stuck together and learn a lot about each other through it. But of course, in this case, them two haven't really hang out with each other. So it was a cool combo to see these two actors really talk to each other, because throughout this show, there have been, of course, Joe West throughout the whole show, but of course also Harrison Wells, different versions of him. But we haven't actually seen Joe West and Harrison Wells hang out, any version. Really, like, actually have proper scenes together, from what I can remember anyway. So yeah, I thought it was going to be a cool little character interaction, but I thought, oh, it's just this is just an excuse to just waste some time and just learn a bit more about Nash. And I thought it was going to be a bit disappointing that they weren't actually going through with the monitor. Like, what's he doing there? Why is he looking for the monitor? But again, little hints. They're not going to reveal everything at once. They're going to spend some time developing some of the character moments, as well as hinting at the monitor, which they do at the end, which is just enough for me to get me a bit more excited about Crisis. It's going to be a bit filler at the start. I thought, okay, Barry's gone out to holiday. It's going to be a filler episode with Cisco be the main focus, Joe and Nash being together, and now it's this weird scene with it looks like they were just jumping from one character to the next, and I don't mind that. They all do their own thing, but it just felt like with Barry gone, it just felt it was going to be a bit more, just doing it for the sake of it. But no, it wasn't. Each scene is there not as a filler scene. It's actually there to actually develop the story they're telling, and not just there for Easter eggs or just like cool visuals. You know what I mean? Like, they're cool, but you need some substance. Again, nose. They need some substance behind it. And of course we see Caitlyn and what's it? I like the little duo between Caitlyn and an elongated man that they're actually developing together, and I like how they hang out loads together. I think they did that last season, to be fair, as well. You don't really get many scenes with Killer Frost, but when they do, they count. Killer Frost is looking for blood work. Scenes of Caitlyn, but very interspliced. One's like near the start and one's near the end of the episode. So most of the bulk of it is, again, going back to Cisco's storyline. So with that storyline, I'll reference Caitlyn in a bit and blood work. But let's start with the suspect, the investigation. So, of course, during Cisco and Camilla's visit to the crime scene, they see this, of course, they meet this head officer who's took over the job of Cynthia since she's died. And he was obviously going to be a suspect for this case, at least from the audience point of view. I thought, oh, this guy's definitely going to be the killer somehow. And they might try and divert us a bit, but it will definitely be him. Because why they're making this new actor come in, have some weird tension between the two of them. You know what I mean? I thought it was just going to be typical, bait you out. Oh, he's the villain. You could never have guessed. And of course, even Cisco himself actually says, he's got the most to gain from her dying. But if it was previous seasons, it would have been a case of too obvious, and they went with the obvious option. But no, they didn't. And I like how they revealed it at the end. But I want to talk about Camilla. So Camilla is, of course, I like how supportive she is of Cisco. They've kind of skipped. I mentioned this last episode review. They've kind of skipped over her development of knowing about the Flash, which kind of is annoying. But at the same time, I wasn't really interested in the character anyway, so I might as well skip all over that and get her actually part of the story if they really want to include her. And they kind of justified with this episode why Camilla's there. Like, why is she there? Instead of just being a girlfriend to Cisco. It's to help Cisco grow. I want her to be her own character as well, but at least they're giving her more of a purpose to be there. She's giving Cisco advice, being like, oh, Cisco, it's alright to be sad about her death. Of course, she was your ex-girlfriend, but it would be weird if you weren't sad about someone you cared about dying. You know what I mean? Even if it is your ex-girlfriend. And that was, of course, simple but effective dialogue. And there was stuff like that for the whole episode that made you be like, oh, thanks. Like, it's like the writers were trying to justify Camilla being there, and they did a good job of that. Even though sometimes it just feels a bit forced that she's been in the show in the first place, if you know what I mean. If I'm being honest. But I think she's a great actress who's been picked, very likable actress, and Cisco and them, I think you can see them being together. It's a believable relationship. And so, let's go back to the switching to the bloodwork stuff. There's only a little bloodwork stuff, but what we do get is visually interesting as well as heartfelt in a way. I think this whole episode has the theme of having faith in oneself. And it does get a bit just over the top or a bit cheesy in terms of them, each character, even in their own separate situations, talking about having faith in others. It's kind of cheesy, and it's like, oh, they're all saying, oh, we get it, you're pushing the theme of this episode too hard on us. But at the same time, it's a good message, and it was justified through the actions of the show. They weren't just saying it after nothing happened. It was just like, oh, these events led to him having faith in this person. And we see with Bloodwork, it's good cheesy. It's a good cheesy thing. We rather have good cheesy than bad cheesy, if you know what I mean. bloody hell, I want Baby Bell now. Well, yeah, so with blood work, Caitlyn arrives to the scene. Caitlyn is trying to, well, not Killer Frost this time. Caitlyn is there, so that was cool contrast to see. Of course, Killer Frost is going to be the main character for this whole season, but when you put Caitlyn there, it has to be an important scene, and it was. She is talking to Bloodwork, trying to get him to turn to the light, essentially saying, your mom had faith in you. Of course, I really like the idea, Bloodwork trying to persuade Caitlyn to join the dark side. And I like how he likes Caitlyn more than Killer Frost. He's like, I don't want to speak to Killer Frost. I want to speak to Caitlyn. I think he likes speaking. He didn't say that in the show, but from what I see is that Bloodwork wants to speak more to Caitlyn. He was a friend of his, and I believe that. And it could have felt really forced that, oh, we get it, you were friends back in the day. But no, it's believable with them two are good actors. Everyone's good acting in the show. They're using them well. I love Ramsey's speech about this transcending human nature. I think it was really well done and really hit home his intentions that were that could have been over the top last episode, but they helped to alleviate that this episode. I really liked his line delivery there was really good. I like the visuals of him looking like Venom. I just can't help but like that visual effect, and he does look very intimidating in this episode specifically, even more so than last episode in my opinion, just from the one scene we have on him. Especially when he starts strangling Caitlyn, when he realizes essentially Caitlyn's just, well, from his point of view, she's basically just chatting. She's waffling. She's just chatting absolute crap. She's like, why are you just trying to take me? Why are you just trying to mention my mother and trying to? You clearly don't want to be part of my plan. So I'm gonna give you one chance, and the next time, it's gonna be he says himself, he's gonna be a forced integration with Killer Frost. He's gonna try and take over most people's bodies and try and lead a life of immortality, essentially. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. So we go back to the Cisco storyline. And what was I think? Yes, it is revealed. The big turning point for this episode from feeling into just a bit of filler. Not a bad filler, but just filler. You just felt like, okay, I don't have to concentrate too hard. To, oh crap, now I have to concentrate so hard because, except for the bloodwork stuff, which is only one scene, that Cisco is shown to be the one who's actually who's killed Cynthia. Cisco sees himself in the visions as them two hold hands, and that was a really good reveal scene. Good music, good visual cues of the eyes flashing before Breacher and Cisco's eyes. Camilla finding out the evidence that the gun that killed Cynthia is in Star Labs next to Cisco's lab. It's a good scene. It's a really cool reveal scene. And it got me out my seat. Not out my seat, but like jump up like, whoa, I didn't expect this. But of course from this you think, oh, okay, fine. Oh, good twist. It's going to be another person from Earth, from another Earth. Or it's going to be revealed that that police officer, as I mentioned before, is going to be the one who framed him, if you know what I mean. And it did seem like that. And it did seem like that at first. Again, it's giving me surprises, but I'm not used to feeling this way for this show in a while. So I'm like, oh, okay, good twist. Let's get back to the actual storyline. But no, they doubled down on the twist that it is Cisco's doppelganger. So it's like a double bluff kind of thing. I'm like, oh, I thought they were going to reveal that it's not a Cisco doppelganger because they mentioned that, they mentioned the fact that it could have been a doppelganger, but then Danny Trejo disregards it. And he tries to kill Cisco, naturally, in his intense rage. And then you think that Cisco is going to turn himself in. Which he does. But then he locks everyone in that force field. And he goes to the other Earth. I'm skipping over, of course, key storyline, key points that lead to what actually happened in the murder of Cynthia. But it's revealed that it actually is another Earth doppelganger of Cisco Ramon, and this one is just as good, if not better, than the Earth 2 evil one we saw ages ago. Mate, this Cisco is bloody sensational. Oh my god. At the start, I thought it was going to be, he was a bit phoning it in. I was like, oh, you're doing the same thing you did in the season 2. But then, when he was explaining his job as someone who can hack, well, of course they can all hack, but his job specifically is to switch the lives between Cisco Ramones in one Earth that are having a bad life, and Cisco Ramone having a good life. And if you pay the right price, or I don't think they specifically mentioned how he does it. Is it a business thing? I think it is a business thing. So for the right price, probably that he can switch their lives together. And the Cisco Ramone of Earth 19 is now in a, let's say, a Earth 38 and living their life. Well, the Earth 19 miserable life, Cisco, is now moving into the Earth 38 Cisco Ramone world, and basically swapping roles, even though they're different people. You know what I mean? I think I probably really made that really sound more confusing than it was, but you've watched the episode, hopefully. And I was like, oh, that's a really cool way of looking at the multiverse, and if they were doing another evil Cisco, they found it here, and from that point when he explained it there, I was really impressed with this Cisco. I think he's explaining the plan, but as he starts to feel the rage as them two try to fight, the acting between the two actors, it's the same actor, gets really cool, and it's really cool acting as the scene develops. They're all good actors. I'm not saying they're all Oscar worthy, but when the action starts, when the dramatic moments entail, they can really hit the nail on the head. We've seen that from previous seasons, and if they, of course, back it up with cool hints throughout the whole episode, which they do, and which they mention proudly, and if they back up with substance, then it can really be top tier stuff. Really good stuff. He gets found out. He gets caught by the police officer. The police officer comes through the breach. It's Cisco using his head, and that's his best intellect again. But again, it's emotional turmoil as well. Emotional turmoil, as he's trying to deal with the fact that it was when the clone is explaining that Cynthia died because he looked upon Cisco's face and was like, wait, why are you trying to kill me? And then in that split second moment, he said himself allowed for the death of her. So in a way, Cisco was the reason she died, in a way. Oh, so good stuff. Oh, yes! Just think when you couldn't get better. It has. Of course, I don't think this episode was... If I had to be, like, really deep down honest, this episode wasn't as good as the previous episodes, probably. But it was leading to be not as good as the episodes before. But then, it was just a slow build. And if they get the ending right, then everything else has been worth it. And again, this makes it another top-tier episode for The Flash, just like the previous 4 episodes. From that ending, justifying everything that happened beforehand. Really good stuff. The mystery was solved in a satisfying way. By the end, Cisco has recognized that Cynthia... It's cool to see TV portray her ex-girlfriend. It's a small thing, but it's cool to see TV show like The Flash explore how ex-girlfriend can be just a friend by the end. Even if she did die, she still cared for him and he still cared for her. And that's a really cool sentiment that they end on with Cisco's character. Barry comes back. Cisco was like, I didn't need Barry. I shouldn't need Barry. And of course Camilla helped him to find that out, that he didn't need a fake version of Barry to lead. He needed himself to lead. And that was a cool little thing that Camilla said to him as well. Really good character development between them both. Camilla could almost act as an Iris West to Cisco in a really cool way. And of course, I don't want her to be the exact same character as Iris, and I don't want her to be like another another female character who just gives advice to the male characters but never actually does anything herself. But for this episode, it was a really cool introduction to why she should be in this show and why Cisco, the actor could have left last season, but he didn't, and I'm really glad he stayed. And it's really justifying them 2 actors staying as well. Really good stuff. As if I would have wanted them to leave, but of course the show back then wasn't as good as it once was now. So I was like, oh, might as well leave them now, get some less characters in for more contained stories. But it feels with this episode and all the episodes so far this season shows that with good writing, no matter how many good characters there are, you can find a way to find a good episode and justify some characters' inclusion in the episode, even if there's loads of characters. You know what I mean? You can, with a whole host of characters, you can still make a compelling story. We've seen that before in other shows. There's no reason why The Flash can't have good episodes with loads of characters. It's a comic book, you know what I mean? And it's a comic book character I really love, I really respect, and it deserves the writing like this. It deserves really good episode drama like this. Where, of course, Barry Allen is a really good character, that he's where every other character revolves around. But But just as Barry's an interesting character, all the other characters are interesting as well, and it's a TV show, you know what I mean? So yeah, that leaves me with the final scene of the episode, where, of course, Elongated Man finds Joe West and Nash Wells in the rubble, reaffirming Joe West's faith. Again, theme of faith. They literally mention the word so many times. Just gets a bit obvious, but cool little story. Having faith in other people. I like Joe's story about after his ex-wife left him and the neighbors coming in to help cook food. That was a cool story. Just another cheesy CW Joe West speech, but it's a good cheesy again, as I mentioned before. So yeah, Elongated Man, faith in other people. The Team Flash found him one way or another, and of course Nash Wells. So Nash Wells is interested in Joe West's mention of the Monitor, and he is looking for the Monitor, and he is so strict. He's so shocked to hear that Joe West has actually met the Monitor. And of course, I want to see if he actually becomes the character Pariah from Crisis on Infinite Earths, someone who serves the Monitor, I think, something like that. I'm not actually an expert on the actual Crisis story, but I think that's what they're going at. I think that's where they're going at with this character, and I can't wait to see what he tries to do with trying to save Barry Allen. That again links to Crisis. I think he's going to become the Pariah character from the comics. And yeah, I think with that said, I think that's all I have for this episode. Another half an hour discussion that I didn't mean to have, but you know, I'm loving it. I'm loving it, and I want to thank you guys for watching. If you've made it to the end of this video, I really appreciate the support. And yeah, next episode looks interesting as well, but I think that will be more filler than this one. I think that will actually be the filler episode, in a sense. But right now, they're going at such a pace with the story that even if it is a filler, it's still going to move the story along in some respect. That's the great thing about Crisis and the Bloodwork storyline together. Really good stuff. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Check me out next week for the next Flash review and discussion leading up to Crisis and beyond. Of course, got other videos like the Gotham character tier list that I will be doing one way or I don't know when, probably end of this week, hopefully. So not just Flash reviews, other videos as well, of course, reactions to other stuff, reviews to games. Star Wars is coming soon, of course. So yeah, I hope you're there to witness it and to join me, contribute. What did you think of the episode? Is my computer going off? No, it's not. Sorry about that darkness. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Always appreciate your support, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.